I'll introduce my colleagues. To my far right is Jackie Leone, and then Peter Coffin. To my immediate right is Larry Greenbaum, our vice chair. To my far left is Richard Johnson, and then Chuck Hart, our alternate, and our secretary, Susan Ayer, and I'm your chairman, Ellie Alessio. The first order of business is to adopt the minutes that for the September meeting. 9th? 10th.
And you'll agree on that. I will move that we approve the minutes as were submitted.
Okay. And so moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the September 10th meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The other item I have is the planning board has asked if we could have a joint meeting with them on December 1st. There's a...
I'm sorry. It was the last one September 12th or September 10th?
I don't know.
September 10th, according to
10th, I thought, but...
No.
According to the minutes.
Was that a Thursday?
No, I'm looking at...
That's 2/19, 20, that what we're looking at is 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the several minutes they said during one of the cases, yeah.
I'm just...
That's, no worries at all.
This is what happens when you work in healthcare during a pandemic.
The issue is that they have a CUP request.
What?
A CUP?
Conditional use permit.
Conditional
Probably
use,
for an
right.
ADU.
No, actually, well, yes, because for the plan board for expansion, but requires a variance as well, as it's within the shoreline protection and or wetland conservation district. It's a different, it's not an ADU, I didn't think, but it could be.
No, it's something else. You can't afford.
So the issue is, are we available, or at least a quorum is available to meet with the planning board on the 1st? That would be the only thing that we would have to...
And just as a heads up, the planning board is still doing Zoom, so it'd be a virtual meeting.
It'd be a virtual meeting, that's correct, that's
So you
right.
could do it from home, and you could leave after your part is over. I can, you could.
I'll be there.
Okay, yes?
What's the date again? I'm sorry.
December 1st. At least three of
I'm not
us.
sure.
Okay, all right.
So we can do that on Zoom? We are doing that on Zoom or?
The planning board meets completely on Zoom.
Okay.
So it would only be via Zoom. And I would need at least three of us to constitute a quorum on that.
What time would it be at?
It'd be the first one, 6:45 usually.
Okay.
I don't know, Glenn left me a note asking if we could meet jointly with the planning board so that we don't hold up the applicant. So if we grant the variance and they can move right on to the planning board agenda on that particular issue. And if we didn't, that's a whole different ballgame and go from there. They still have to put in an application to us, and I have not received that, but that could be next week. I'm not sure exactly how, I'd have to talk to Ellen to see how, it's been so long since we've done a joint meeting. I don't remember exactly how that wording goes.
Yeah, I think they put in the application for that date. Now, they don't, you set the days of the meeting, so they put in an application for what they want.
Yeah, the question is, do they submit two applications, two sets of fees, two sets of... See, it's not quite so simple. I'll check with Ellen on that.
That's...
If you're in agreement, then I'll go ahead and do the legwork with Ellen to coordinate a posting so that we'd have one hearing on December 1st with the planning board. And that would be it. It wouldn't be involved in anything else. We may still have our normal December meeting, which would be, I think, the 10th. Would be the second Thursday. Okay, all right. So I'll let them know that that's okay. And then I'll let you guys know. And we'll go from there. Okay, 7:02, sorry. Anything else to come up before the board? Everybody happy with the tax bills?
Yeah, it went down. So
It went down.
Why wouldn't you be happy?
Exactly, because it went down.
I was happy with that.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Did the school go down? I haven't looked at.
The school gave us back substantial, the school had a big piece of that pie, so you had no increase. I mean, I have to, in fairness to them, and I understand they proposed a budget that's $1 million
Less,
less
I saw that
than
paper.
last year's. It's amazing, so we're making progress, which is good.
Is that because of remote learning?
No.
No, because of the consolidation
Yeah, junior high being up.
by
in-
closing the middle school. That was a bigger
Yeah.
bigger
okay.
savings, because there's one less building to operate, that's been leased out. And so they're doing a good job, I have to give them some credit. Not in everything, I could think of a few other things, but that's all right. All right, so we're gonna do the joint meeting, and, come on, Electra, 7:04, why don't you kind of, is that you, Mrs. Webster?
Yeah.
Why don't you come forward, we need a microphone.
Yeah, or bring a chair farther.
Those little.
Yeah. Come on, Peter. Yeah, you can sit right there.
One of them should be long enough.
No, don't move it.
Microphone, little bit from there, please, don't move.
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Argue with him either.
No, I'm not either. Okay, welcome to the board meeting, and let me read what we had posted for a public hearing. This is for Isaac and Susan Webster at 7 Culver Drive, tax map U11, lot 40. This is a public hearing whereby the applicant seeks a variance to the terms of Article 301D of the Town of Kingston zoning ordinance and asks that terms be waived to permit a 10-foot by 16-foot shed to be built within 20 feet of the property line. A 15-foot variance is required. And the way this works, you tell us why you want us to grant this variance and what specific circumstances require that this would work for you. The board would ask questions, you'd have an opportunity to respond accordingly. If there are any public that shows up and asks any questions, they'd have a chance to question or ask for details and so forth. So you're welcome to take your mask down so we could hear you better. If that helps. I do have the property file here if anyone wants to take a look at it. And so Mrs. Bush, why don't you tell us why you'd like this 15-foot variance?
Well, I did submit a piece of paper.
Yeah, everyone has the application,
That
yeah?
explained that.
Yeah,
We have a very uneven piece of property, and the front, a very large front yard and a very small side yard where the driveway is. So we wanted to put the shed closer to the property line because of where the unevenness of the property and the location of a garden and flagpole. So we wanted to just kind of tuck it behind that area.
questions?
Yes.
Yep, go ahead, Mr.
You
Green.
said in your application or in your note that you had spoken with the neighbors.
Yes.
Which neighbor is the one who is most affected?
Which neighbor what?
Which neighbor is most affected by by placing the shed?
Karen and Scott Kurgan, and the other side of that would be Jean Whalen.
Okay, so it's going to be up next to two.
Right. The way that the property line.
It's the back end of the property then.
Pardon me?
It's the back.
Yes.
So it's the north line of the property, abutting 18 and 16 property.
So it's probably 80% closer to the Kurgan's property than it would be to Whalen's property.
Okay, so closer to 18.
And everybody already signed this.
Pardon me?
The signatures regarding any with the variance.
We can't hear you, Jackie. I can't even hear you.
These are all the signatures for anybody who is in a butter.
Yes, except for Belleville, I did not speak with them.
Okay.
I spoke with everyone else.
Other questions?
No?
It's unusual to grant a variance, in my opinion, I've been doing this a number of years, when there's so much other land to work with.
It's really, if you've seen the property, it's very uneven. It would require a lot, well, we wouldn't want a shed in the front yard anyway, and the front yard really slopes quite a bit. And in the spring or heavy rain, it collects rainwater. So that area is pretty much unusable for any type of building. The side yard where our driveway comes in, there's only a narrow strip to the right-hand side of the driveway, which is where it borders where Kurgan and Whalen's property is. It's a very narrow strip. And part of that is very uneven too. So we have to do a lot of landscaping to put it anywhere else.
I'm looking at behind the house, behind your house, right?
Yep.
It says you have 46.5 feet to the fence, and on the other side is like 80 feet from the corner of your house back to the corner of the property line. So there's no way in that area that you can put it? It's flat behind the house.
No, it's not really flat behind the house. It is sloped. But that area is fenced in for our dog. Plus, we have a deck off the house also. It's really not a large piece of property behind the house.
Awful lot of fence there, though. I didn't notice that today. Some fence company like that put all that fence in all the way along.
Well, it went in stages.
Oh, was it?
For the
Yeah.
neighbors, yes. Yes.
Could the shed, I mean, you're looking for 15 feet out of the 20. Can the shed come in some off the property line? I mean,
I'm sorry, what?
could it come in 10 feet instead of, if you came towards the driveway there, in front of the garden?
Well, the garden is on a slope area where the driveway is because we didn't want to have to ruin the lawnmower. Years ago when we put the garden in, plus we put a memorial flagpole in for my dad, who was a veteran. So we wanted to put the shed in between where the flagpole is and the property line. And given the distance from the flagpole to the property line, we wanted to kind of maximize going towards the flagpole if we could.
I want to suggest something to my colleagues. I'm a little concerned because you have a big enough property where you could put the shed somewhere else, and yes, you'd have to expend some money and do landscaping and redoing, but you also have some special circumstances for your husband, I thought, is what you inferred in your letter.
Yes.
And that was the major consideration.
Well, we wanted to keep it closer to the house and closer to the driveway because we needed to, like I said in the letter, we were storing some stuff for my son-in-law and my daughter. And also we need to get everything out of the attic because he can't go up into the attic space anymore.
That doesn't affect the location of the shed. I mean,
Well,
you
given
can get it out of the attic and into the shed, but if the shed was a little closer to the driveway, for example, and maybe rearrange the garden positioning, that seems to be a fundamental thing, garden. So that, I mean, we've had a situation before where somebody wanted it right on the property line and they had plenty of space, even though it was like this neighborhood, a very more compact neighborhood, had plenty of place elsewhere to put it. And the reason why we have this here is, I know you did very well in contacting your butters, but it's to protect future owners of those parcels too.
Well, that's, hear me out. What I'm suggesting is if we grant the variance for the 15 feet, but have it conditional that when they sell the house, the shed has to be moved back within the normal boundaries.
I'm not sure because the variance is conveyed with property, so it's not. You could have a temporary, I don't know if there's such a thing as a temporary variance.
It's a conditional variance.
Conditional.
Conditional for them still owning the house. Someone could appeal it, I mean, let's say they sell the house and someone appealed that decision, they could do that down the road, but what we're saying is, if this is something you guys agree to, that we grant the variance conditioned upon the shed being moved when the house is sold. You would have to record it on your deed. It's the only way that would be enforceable.
Because once the variance is recorded on the deed and.
Correct, and it's conditional. It's conditional on their being in the house. I can respect the circumstances that require you to ask for that. I don't have an issue with that piece of it, but it is the long-term impact on that property because you do have the land. And yes, it would be expensive and inconvenient and all that stuff, but you have special circumstances, and I think I'd like to try and accommodate those circumstances for your husband in the way that might be agreeable is to have it, the variance conditional on that when they sold the house, the shed has to be moved within the regular property and not within the 15 feet variance. I don't know exactly.
It has to be moved to within,
To meet
no less than
reg-
20 feet from the property line. Yeah.
There you go, yes.
And the people buying the house would come into the ZBA and say, can I leave it there?
They could do that, they
And then
could.
that would be a separate review. Right.
That's correct.
Would be what I would do if I was buying it.
Oh,
May I
yeah,
ask another question, please?
sure.
Excuse me. The fence that runs perpendicular off of the property line fence. Is there a place there that either the side or the shed could be back to that fence?
We usually use that area of the property for, when we plow snow off the driveway, because we have a very long, wide, it's a long, narrow driveway, but wider at the top where the house is.
Yeah,
And so we use that area of the yard to put the excess snow. And also when we're moving the cars so that we can plow the driveway. Does that make sense? Plus, to be honest, we really didn't want to crowd everything because we didn't want to crowd it all next to the house either. Do you know what I mean? I think for aesthetics, it wouldn't look very good.
it's a big variance.
I know, I totally agree. I totally agree.
I didn't hear, what did you just say?
It's a large variance.
Yeah. 2/3.
That's what's,
3/4.
Could we change that so that we're closer to the flagpole and maybe do a 12-foot variance? Would that make a difference? I think we probably have about that much space to play with closer to the flagpole.
Where is the flagpole in relation to all this, huh?
I'm sorry.
Where is the flagpole in relation to all this? Between the garden and the shed, or
The flagpole is in the middle of the garden.
it's in the middle of the garden?
Yeah.
In relation with what, obviously, I know it's not exact, but your shed is looking at about half of the garden, it's taken up. Could the shed just go back to get away from that garden just enough so you can bring it this way toward the driveway and get away from that boundary situation?
Moving it
Yes.
west and then south.
Just move it back to the house more and then bring it to your road more? Because it looks like the shed and the garden is about split.
Right, so where the garden and the flagpole is and where the property line is, we wanted to kind of tuck the shed in between there because there's lilacs there and forsythia in that garden, and we thought that it would kind of camouflage it a little, you know, so that it's not sticking out into the property area. And on the other side, on the property line, there's bushes and pine trees.
Any more questions?
I'll just tell you right up front, the size of the variance you're asking for, I find a little troubling. And I know from personal experience exactly what you're talking about. Because in that last house I owned, I had to do some grading in order to put a shed in. And I had to bring the soil up about a foot in one area so I could get a foundation in. So I know what has to be done. And I had a very similar problem.
Is the pool, circular pool that's shown in the aerial map, is that still behind your house?
I'm sorry.
The circular swimming pool, I think it's a swimming pool. It's a blue circle behind the house. Is that still there?
No.
No, okay, so, yeah, I'm looking at this map and the picture and stuff, and it certainly looks like you have a lot of ability to move things around, and given the driveway's fairly level, anywhere where that 31-foot measurement you took is open. I have a hard time, I mean, I know we've had this discussion on these very small lots around the lake that, you know, they're cheek by jowl, and some of the lots in this area, in the Roman area, are small, but this one's big.
Yeah, those 3 lots, whereas the 2 on the side were subdivided out of, 7 lots were made into 3
Right, yeah.
down there.
So how many acres is the total?
We just have one.
Okay, 45, so 5,000. Okay, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and that's an acre.
That's an acre, yeah.
Well, are you ready for the questions? I mean, after that, you'll have to make a decision.
Okay, yeah, well,
That sound okay? Alright. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Mrs. Webster?
Well, I really, I understand what you're saying about, you know, doing some landscaping and everything. I really don't want to put any additional expense into that. We're on a fixed income, and I just don't see that that's feasible at this point to, you know, put more expense into grading any property.
I'm going to read the 5 criteria. Chuck, you would not be voting on this one, okay? We get the 5 here. Okay, this is a request, a petition for a 15-foot variance for property located at 7 Culper Drive, tax map U11, lot 40. And here are the 5 criteria. And all of these have to pass in order for us to even begin to grant the variance. Okay. After reviewing the petition and after hearing all the evidence and by taking into consideration the personal knowledge of the property in question, the Kingston Board of Adjustment has determined the following. 1, will there be a diminution in value of surrounding properties as a result of granting this variance? Yes, no?
it's hard to know. Current property owners don't seem to think so, but talking about not having any landscaping in 5 feet between the house and the property line. I think that if the neighbors on the north side ever wanted to cut their trees, they put them back in the sheds.
Well, right now, the neighbors are in agreement, so.
Right, yeah.
You can vote as you wish, but
Yeah, no, I'm going to say that we haven't had any testimony that there would be, so I'm going to say no.
no diminution.
You would think so?
No.
No, okay, so that one passes. Number 2, will the granting of this variance be of benefit to the public interest, yes or no?
It wouldn't be contrary to public interest. I don't think it's a benefit. So and I think the word is, won't be contrary to public interest. So I think I would say that, no, it's not contrary to public interest.
You want it to pass, it's going to have to be a yes.
Well, yes, it's a benefit as opposed to.
Like I said, it's not going to be a detriment to the public, but
Yeah,
not everyone's
that's
going to use your shed.
Yeah, so I would, my answer is, it's not contrary to public interest, so that's a yes, I guess.
That is a yes, that would be a yes answer to that.
That's what I said, that's a yes if you want to.
Yep. Number 3, will literal enforcement of the zoning ordinance result in an unnecessary hardship?
To the property owner?
That's,
Yes,
So the hardship is something that's on the property that would prevent it from being able to be used in the way that.
yeah, hardship is created by the application.
by the applicant, not by
Yeah.
the property.
No, by
Yeah.
the property.
I would say that the literal enforcement would not result in an unnecessary hardship. Unnecessary hardship, yeah.
Richard?
I would say, it'd have to be a yes if you want to go out there, it has to be, it's the only way we're doing with that stuff.
Right, but I need to know what you want to do.
If they're looking for it, I'd say a yes, let's go with it.
Okay. Jackie?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, and Larry? Okay, so that also passes. Number 4, will substantial justice be done if this variance is granted, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, yes for Larry, Peter?
You know, but yes in that one.
Okay, so that also passes.
No, what you said earlier.
Glad you're listening to me. Okay, number 5, will the use contemplated by the petitioner as a result of obtaining this variance be contrary to the spirit of the ordinance, yes or no? Will this be contrary?
No, I don't think so.
Yes, it will.
Okay. So it does pass.
I assume you're including your own answers.
Yes, yeah, there's no need for me to,
Oh, you
I would go with the prevailing side
Okay.
automatically. Automatically. But yes, I've gone along to accept all 5 criteria.
Right.
But I just didn't verbally say that.
Okay.
But I always vote on the prevailing side unless I'm really opposed, and then you'd hear me say that.
But if
right
it's
now.
2 and 2, then.
I would be breaking the tie then.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so what is your pleasure? All 5 variance contingencies have passed. So I
We could
need,
put a motion that would conclude the condition.
if you want to do that, it's up to you guys. I just
Well, I-
put that out as a condition in case that would make it easier to approve it. Because you have an acre of land. You have the land to do it. You do have the land, but you have some special circumstances. And I was trying to come up with a solution that allows us to grant you the variance that you're requesting, given the circumstances of your husband's health. But it doesn't tie that property into having the shed that close to the property when it doesn't have to be. It's not a matter of the money to grade it somewhere else. For you, it's different circumstances because of your husband's health. And I just wanted an opportunity to respect that, and if there's a way we can do it, great. If not, that's okay too. So we can move to grant the 15-foot variance with the following condition. And the condition would be that
Can we give a variance that runs with the ownership as yet?
well, we're going to find out.
Well, that's my question is,
I think normally no. So-
can we legally do that?
But that was gonna be my question.
Yeah,
Can we
I
actually
think the answer
impose
is,
that?
I think the answer is no. And
So do I.
Well, I'll give you an example where we used to do it, and that was with ADUs.
oh yeah, and they changed when they discovered
But it
that.
was legal for us to put a condition on that the ADU went away in
All
a
right,
minute.
I'm gonna make it very easy.
Okay,
Well, I'll move that we grant the petition as requested.
okay. And is there a second?
What are we gonna do?
Grant the 15-foot variance as requested. Second it. Discussion on the motion on the floor.
I just don't want it to come back again.
Okay,
But no, for the sake of trying.
in my next
to do
life cycle, I'm
something-
gonna be a lawyer, a land use lawyer. That's what I'm gonna go for. Okay, all those in favor of granting the variance, please say aye. Opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. You have your variance.
Thank you.
Okay, I will have a letter out to you within the next week or so. And you have 30 days to wait in case someone objects to our decision or has additional information to give us that might make us change our mind. I just need to tell you that before you make any commitment to move it or put it on the property. You can do it at your own risk, but you should wait the 30 days in case someone wants to question our decision.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Very good. Good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well,
Okay.
Easy to vote.
What's that?
It's easy to vote when you already know what the results are going to be. I was hesitating. It wasn't gonna-
It's okay.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, it was a 4-1. Yeah. Mr. Dufresne, why don't you come on down? Jim Dufresne, Diamond Oaks Golf Club, P.O. Box 175, Plastow, New Hampshire, with regard to property located at number 7125, tax map R3, lot 4 and 4LU3. The public hearing whereby the applicant seeks clarification of the September 12, 2019 variance granted by the Kingston Zoning Board of Adjustment with respect to the condition that occupancy is restricted to U.S. veterans 55 and over, and as condominiums must be ADA compliant. The board will be meeting to clarify the intent and review and/or amend the language of that approval. Mr. Dufresne, you get the floor first.
Good evening. I think Attorney Charlie Cleary submitted a letter for the request.
Yes, today comes, came in. Another letter,
The
right?
second letter, yeah.
Second letter. Go ahead, you go right ahead.
That's it. This is a request I think you put in writing.
I have one dated November 5th that says stamped received November 9th. Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got it on the table today.
they both say the same thing.
Well, not exactly, but.
Yeah, this is
Well-
short.
The thrust of it is the same, just clarifying.
Right. That's a copy of that. I
And
don't
you said the
have-
applicant does not,
What do you mean?
Just that letter.
do you want to just read the last sentence or the last part of that page? And so that we have just vocalized it so everybody at home knows what we're talking about here.
Well, before we do that, the issue is that the planning board felt that both, let's say there were two individuals in that condominium, that both must be military,
Veterans.
age 55 and over. And the issue is, did we as a zoning board grant the variance with this, basically an assumption that both, if there were two occupants, both would be veterans age 55, or that one of the two would be age 55 and
No,
over?
not age 50, veteran.
Veteran, excuse me. A
Right.
Because okay, that was the question.
So it's a veteran status and
Are we saying that both occupants must be veterans, U.S. veterans? That's the question.
so we never discussed it at the first time, but my intent was not to exclude spouses. So I would say that my intent was that the spouse be included. And since
Well, I think that's where the problem lies. If a veteran is married and his spouse is not a veteran,
Right.
the plan would say she can't live there or he can't live there. And that's, I think, what we're trying to.
We were using a literal, I'll speak from the planning board here, we were using a literal interpretation of the verbiage that all residents must be military, right, a veteran of the U.S.
Right.
And so,
That's what the planning board was thinking.
and so because we did, so we suggested to Charlie that he come back here for clarification, and so that's why we're here. So,
And it's-
I'm saying that I can't speak for everybody, but I'll put my name that I did not intend to exclude spouses. At the time, nobody objected to the wording of the thing, but upon retrospect, it did. And I was kind of thinking these are one-room places, so that they were, the guy who was representing the veterans said we have a lot of guys who are veterans right now, but need a place to live. And I was thinking this would be, one-room place, a single veteran. I wasn't thinking about the married veterans, but I certainly didn't intend to exclude spouses. So I would be perfectly happy to clarify that spouses, and since we have marriage equality in this state, a spouse can be either sex.
So you're not going with your colleagues on the planning board in this one?
No, the planning board, it wasn't, it was just saying, the only way we can interpret this is the way it's written, and it said all residents. So-
Okay, I got it.
And we recommended that they come back here for
Okay.
clarification.
Okay.
So they're not gonna enforce it that all people that live there have to be a veteran?
No,
Yeah,
it's
no.
up to us to say, I personally feel that one of the two, if there's two people in that apartment or condo, one has to be a veteran.
Right.
Right.
That's my
And
intent.
that was my
Right.
expectation.
And they don't necessarily have to be married.
That's correct. If
Well,
they-
that's the question, spouse, you can be spouse or significant other. The question is, if you
Yeah,
have
this-
four
this
people
is-
who want to move in here, and you get one veteran and three other people, I don't think that's the intent.
It's not the intent, but by the same to the owner and/or spouse or
It's
significant other.
never, yeah, I think.
This is a liberal world, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Now they send invitations to the kids,
So,
Are we gonna correct the wording here?
Yes, right now, right. We're gonna,
to clarify the wording, it's the veteran and significant other. If you want to use that term.
Because I was,
What if it's not a significant other? What if it's a child, an adult child?
I don't think it meant, one of them has to
Well, that's what I'm
be
saying.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to point out that we don't want.
at least
six people in an
one.
apartment.
One of,
Hold on, Jim.
I think on the second page, the last paragraph, Attorney Clary came up with a suggestion.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think I like that
Oh,
one.
that's fine. There's nothing else to add.
I wanna keep it simple.
it is not necessary for a second occupant to be a veteran.
This came across with the emails, I said, you kidding me?
I'd say at least,
That comes up with this stuff.
no, let's not,
My wife, right now, her husband was a veteran. Vietnam, he passed away. He's now up in Boston. I married her, at this point, she's to be buried up there. Spouses can go with the husband goes, veteran. She's not a vet, never has been a vet. But she is gonna be interned with her husband up there. So we can't let a spouse or a significant other live with somebody that's a veteran, either male or female.
Yeah, no, that's, I think that's where you all.
actually, as I read the word, it's actually, it really is okay. It says the use and occupancy of each unit shall be by at least one veteran of a branch of the United States military service. Period.
I actually like the way that that's written.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
It's not stipulating who the other person or persons.
Right.
Just a
You're
veteran.
not labeling them. So,
Right, I
yeah.
think, but our intent was not to open it up to more than one other person.
That's the only
That's-
problem with that.
That's,
It doesn't, there's no,
it was our intent.
No number.
Is
A
that
spouse.
why we're here?
What's
Yeah,
that?
but that's not really what this is about, though.
well,
We
The
can't.
condo docs determine how many people get, or occupancy permits.
Right, that's not our decision to make.
I think let's just keep it as simple.
Yeah.
We're saying that if there's more than one occupant, at least one occupant must be
Okay.
a veteran.
Well, that's what he put in here, that's worded exactly
And
right.
that's, I think we stop right there.
Richard pointed out, they have the person dying, it's better to have it being a spouse because that person's spouse has a legal standing to stay in the apartment.
That's correct.
Whereas if it's a roommate, and you have this wording in here that has to be at least one military veteran, then the roommate has to move out. If
We're
the,
going too far afield. That's why you have condo docs, and that's why the planning board normally does the condo. We don't do the condo docs.
Right.
We're saying that if at least one resident of each condo must be a military veteran. It could be a mother and a son and a daughter.
that's the,
You know, I think let's keep it simple and not spend more money on this. How does that sound? So do we want a motion to adopt that phrase?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Do we need a motion?
Let's use the KISS program.
Keep it simple, stupid.
well, we can vote to clarify our intent, and if we all do
Our intent is as follows. The use and occupancy of each unit shall be at least one veteran of a branch of the U.S. military service.
Period.
Second.
Period. Okay,
Period.
period. All in favor? It's unanimous. I'll send a letter to the planning, I'll send you a letter to that.
Attorney Clary,
It's Attorney Cleary. We'll make sure that we'll get the copy of it.
have a great night.
I moved it and who seconded it? Richard, I don't know, Peter? No, Larry. I mean, I shouldn't have even made the motion, but. That's all right. I wanted to move along.
Yeah.
So we're done, unless you have any other business.
Well, motion would be so made.
Absolutely. Good night, Adam. We're done.
Are we off camera?
No.